Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Coffees with Toffees podcast. I will be your host, Flubb, and this is the Brewmaster's Draft, a show where we talk a little bit about beer and a little bit about Dota. As always, I'm joined today with my ever-talented co-host, Kimbrell. How you doing today, Kimbrell?
Hey, doing well. It's Friday. I'm not able to drink today, so it kind of sucks. But
Boom.
but overall, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. It's like I said, it's Friday. Pretty easy day today. Just had lunch with my future father-in-law to go over some wedding details, and yeah, we're getting close, man. So it's like it's a good day, but then again, it's like 2 weeks away. It's a little stressful.
Yep. I can only imagine. I can only imagine, my friend. I've not been in that position, so best of luck to you on that. I actually wanted to ask you, so we got into it last week, but you mentioned it, but we didn't get to talk about it. So this week, let's talk about your bachelor party, man.
Oh, did we not talk about it? I thought we talked about it. Well, we might not have talked about it.
You
was fun.
it.
I had a good time. I got pressured into some stuff that I wouldn't have allowed myself. I shouldn't have allowed myself to get pressured to. Yes, but, you return to your old college town and you kind of just, just your attitude kind of changes. So I had a good time though. I mean, we went down to just a strip. It's like just a strip of bars. Everybody calls it the Strip, and it's in my old college town. That everybody that was there has gone to that college, and so we just drank a lot of alcohol. And probably the most alcohol I've drank in about a year and a half or so. So I felt like an old man the next day. For some reason, whenever I drink heavily, I wake up earlier. It makes no sense. I wake up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm just like, oh no.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know about you. I think that you're feeling probably the same way then. Like I've at this point, I'm only 26, but I feel like I'm on the closer side to 30 sometimes because whenever I drink like really heavily, I'm like, oh, the next morning is just like the worst day ever. And like, I mean, when I was like 19, 20, 21, it's like, all right. I had some really bad hangovers, but I'd get over it. And oh gosh, it's not the same anymore, man. It's not the same. But yeah,
no.
All right. What about Dota? How's Dota been for you, man?
It has actually been really well until very recently. However, I've climbed 300 solo noir.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Had a couple dumb games in there. A random Legion commander. I was like, oh, I'll just take a jungle, and that didn't go well. But overall, yeah, 300 MMR. You can't hate on that. However, Compendium just started, and it's freaking rad. Like, I love it, like everything about it. And international ranking thing, the MMR whatever system, whatever you want to call it, came out with it, where and I was like, I really like, I got a Smurf a while ago. I played on it. I tried to get my calibration and calibrated it, quite a few hundred ahead, but and so I was like, I'm just going to play this. And it has gone terribly. I've legit lost 3 games in the international ranked. 1-1, and then another one. I got myself into some trouble last night. My fiance told me that I was just like, hey, I want to stay up late tonight. And she was like, when you stay up late and you're not in bed, the dog freaks out. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to bed, and about an hour or so, she's over there snoring, and I was like, I actually legitimately, I had heartburn. We had lasagna, and for some reason it was like burning down at the bottom of my throat, So I was like, I don't want to lay down. I'm just gonna get up. And you know what? I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go play Dota. And so that's what I did. And in the middle of one of those games, she comes in here and she's just like, what the hell, dude? The dog's in there freaking out. She's in there shaking because she knows you're not in there. And I don't know, it's because she's cold, because like she sleeps like right up next to me. The dog does. She like nuzzles her nose down my back and everything. Anyway, I don't know. So anyway, long story short, I had to leave the game, but we were so far ahead. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave the game open. We're gonna win soon. We've already taken 2 racks. Maybe if they win in the 5 minutes, before the 5 minutes are up, I don't abandon and I get a win, and easy peasy. No, it didn't work like that. It was 7 minutes. 7 minutes later, they won, and I was just like, come on, guys. I was like checking Dota buff in the bedroom. I was laying there with the dog, and I was just like refreshing it. And I was like, come on. And then it popped up, and it was abandoned. It's like, damn it.
So. Well, I gotta say though, man, like I know that sucks that you got wife aggro or fiance aggro, but man, you left the game and just let it running.
Oh, dude, I know. I hate when people do that. Like it's like I always say, you know, why can't you just disconnect and let the other people play? If you have to go, let the other people play. But I was like, we're legit marching down mid, like about to win this game, and they must have stalled just a little bit or something. I don't know. I was like, we had a troll off lane solo who was like 10-0, and I was playing sniper, and so things were like super well, and all I had to do was stay in here for another 3 minutes, but you know, that 3 minutes probably equals to my death. So anyway, it was disappointing, but so total I have lost 5 games. Well, technically lost 5 games and won 1 in the international rank thing. It's been terrible. Oh, and also I'm in low prio after that abandon that I got. So I guess that's what I get for the win streak, and I'll take it. I guess that's fine.
Yeah, it worked out better. I actually haven't even gotten the compendium at all because generally I really want to get one every year, and it's like if a fan wants to give me one, cue the fans. That'd be awesome. But I don't generally have like the money, the income to spend on that. Generally, it's like I could eat a lot less that week and get a compendium, which sometimes it might be worth it. This one I'm considering it like having like just bologna for like a week, you know. But
right.
For me as like a college student and you know having to deal with all that stuff, it's like I go full-time college and I don't really have the income to spend on like random stuff like this if I want to do things with friends or family or anything like that. But yeah, so I'm getting to this. I've got to this point where I've found Clockwork to be like really useful, and I've been playing him a lot. I've been actually earning back some of the MMR that I lost. I went down to like 4,800, 40 or like 47 at one point, 4750 or something. So I'm like starting to earn it back at this point with Clockwork as in the offlane. I got this special way to play into, and that's kind of what like inspired this draft today. So I'm pretty excited about it myself, and kind of going from there.
I've been playing a lot of, well, I say a lot. I played 3 games total of it, but Necrophos, I spammed that hero for the longest time, and then I just stopped playing him. And then since his update or his change, I played him once, and it went terribly. But the 3 games I played him, I played 1 mid and then 2 off lane, and I was solo. And I was against a melee core, and they had a jungler, and it was that hero is incredible. The amount of stupid damage it puts out. Anyway, those were really fun. I hadn't played that hero in forever. It was kind of like a newfound love or something.
Oh yeah, totally. And like the getting the extra heal off of your shroud is just incredible. Like if you kill someone and then you hit that button, you're full health, full mana immediately.
And you don't have to invest points into his other passive anymore. It's a part of his nuke, and so like when I realized that, because I read the patch notes back when that happened, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't really think about it, but when I was playing it recently, I was like, holy crap, like that's insane. Not only do I have this nuke, I have this regen, and it's not like, oh, that's great. Yeah,
he's a much more complete hero for sure now.
Right. I'll probably like, get cancer or something. And the next week for playing that hero, that's how it has always been with that hero. It's like, oh, I played him and now I'm coughing up my lungs. Great.
you take LARPing to the next extreme, huh? On that. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about this new draft about Clockwork that I have made up today. We're going to be talking about, but first we got to talk about our beers, the liquidy goodness that we were drinking. And sadly, Kimbrell has been merped, as the Dota term would be, and he cannot drink any today. But for me, I am drinking a classic Busted Knuckle. It's a thing from Indiana. It's by Quaff Brewing Company. It's also like made by Big Woods Brewing Company. But it's Quaff is the one that's basically based on. And it's from Indiana, and it's an English porter, and its ABV is 7.2%. It's a signature. It's their signature ale. Busted Knuckle is a hybrid between most similar to a light porter, and we say light because while it's simple, while it does have its complexity, it is also very smooth and an approachable beer. So it's actually like, I've heard people talk about it all the time because I'm from Indiana, and it's at like every bar and every place that we go to, and it is quite good so far. I'm really enjoying it. I do like my porters, and I like them a little bit on the lighter side. So this is like about perfect for me. So we'll be sipping on these on today. We'll have a sober Kimbrell. We'll have a drunk Flubb. Sounds like a good matchup.
Yeah, actually, I don't have this beer, but I plan on having it next week. I'm pretty excited about it. It's one of the first few beers I've ever tried. My stepdad posted it on Facebook, and it's called Yingling.
Oh, yep, I have. It's actually like it's been big in our general area forever. I didn't actually think about putting it on because I was like, everyone's had Yingling.
No, dude, like I haven't had it in forever, and I remember like it was one of the first beers I was ever like, damn, that's actually like good. It doesn't taste like piss, and so I'm pretty excited to have it on because I haven't tried it in forever. So
it's actually a problem for us here right now for Coors. It's actually cheaper than if you buy Coors for like restaurants and stuff. So people are actually getting rid of Coors and putting in Yingling. So like Coors is getting like super upset.
Oh man.
Yeah, Yingling's good, man. Yingling's really good. I'll join you next week. We'll both drink Yingling and we can compare notes. Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, sorry, this beer's too good. I gotta stop drinking a little bit and start talking. Okay, so we're going into the draft section of our show now. All right, so I got a special draft for you guys today. As I kind of said in the beginning, we have it's going to be a Clockwork draft, and this is kind of the ideal scenario. So it's basically a Crystal Maiden Clockwork draft, but it has a lot of other characters in it, and its basic components of like the perfect draft that you could possibly get with Crystal Maiden Clockwork is Crystal Maiden. You first pick her, then you go into Clockwork, and then your second phase you want to pick up the Magnus and Troll, and you want to pick Magnus first because you can have a lot of variation with people at that first front. So with Magnus you want to pick him up first, and then you want to go Troll, and then you want to go into your sniper mid. So this idea of this draft is basically your Troll's going to be your safe lane, or kind of like a core in this situation. If Magnus matches up well in the safe lane versus them, you can have him in safe lane with a Troll Crystal Maiden Clockwork aggro if you really need to. I don't suggest it. I think that its safe lane is much better, but sometimes if you're facing a Spectre or if you're facing a Arc Warden, which I hear sucks, then you can generally have a offensive tri-lane and kind of punish that movement. So that's kind of the idea of the draft, and the bands that we're going to be looking for in this type of situation, because the heroes that you're going to be picking and going out from this area are going to be Ursa and Lifestealer as your first two. And the reason why you do that is because Clockwork is really bad versus those two in general. And if you're going to be picking up the Magnus, he's another hero that's like the three that I never want to face. And then those are the three that I never want to face. And if you're going to be picking up Magnus later on, then it's not that big of a deal, and you don't want to ban him out early. So you want to take care of those two, and really you don't want to worry about Jug too much, because Jug is not going to be facing him in lane. It's about canceling out these guys that are going to be both Cancer to Clockwork and Magnus. So both Lifestealer and Ursa are the main problems. And to be honest, I just hate Ursa. Ursa sucks to face versus. I love playing with him, but oh god, I can't stand him anymore. And you want to go into Outworld Devour and Jug as your next two bands. And you want to do Outworld Devour because this draft is very based on a a team fight potential. And I'll get into that in a second and why it really destroys the idea. But Outworld Devourer really destroys Clock, and the idea that Clock can just keep someone in his little cogs and slowly tick them down with battery assault. If you have any way to take him out of that problem, then it's going to be disastrous for your hero. And it's a regular ability, not as the same as if you use a Rubik stun. Its cooldown is very, very long, and you can pull him out of the problem, but if he's on a support, it's not as big of a deal. And if you have like swap, it's actually has some counters to swap already within the draft. So there's some availability of what is possible here, and if you're going to really take anyone out, it's Outworld, because he just generally takes someone out of the problem, takes whoever you cogged in, even himself, out of the fight for 4 seconds, while the rest of the team does everything. So you kind of go from there, and Jug is also a problem just because of the BKB and a lot of things, well, not BKB, but his spin in general can take out a lot of the magic damage. And you just want the potential of trying to get to a good spot in your drafting lineup. You want to have great lanes with this situation. The last person that I decided to ban was Storm Spirit, because one, he doesn't fit the draft very well, and two, he has a lot of problems with... This draft has a lot of problems with locking him down. Yes, you have Crystal Maiden, and you have Clockwork to kind of do some availability by hookshotting in and using your cogs to push people away, but it's not as strong as it could be. And that's kind of the thing with Storm Spirit. You want to have a very, very strong lockdown draft. So that's kind of where I'm in, and why they go with what they're going with. And the reason why that this draft is so compactly perfect is because Crystal Maiden offers mana to Magnus, gives him a lot of potential into being able to spam things, being able to win his lane correctly. Clockwork is also an incredible support because you can actually use his potential of pushing people away. You can use the PMS build and guarantee the lane if the offlane is going to be very harassment heavy and cause a lot of problems. You can go PMS build and move into the top lane and kind of force them out. And that's kind of what you do with support Clockwork, is that you use your battery assault, you use your cogs to generally catch people out, and you use Crystal Maiden to do another stun. If you need to as well, you can also have Crystal Maiden go into the jungle while Clockwork zones them out. But if you go into the Magnus build, there's a really cool idea that I've kind of created from this viewpoint. If you use Clockwork as a solo support in the idea of like helping out the offlane in a duo type situation, he can actually help the Magnus out and get the lane to where he wants. You can use a Bulba block, which is basically you sit equal distance between your racks and your tower, and you use your cogs to block the creep camps. While you do so, you deny one of your cogs, and you hit the shrine, and you walk out having full mana and regen from that. So you still really didn't use cogs, even though you did to help block the creep camp. Then you get to move further down and use it one more time, helping the Magnus being able to pull that creep wave back to a perfect amount, and then after he gets the 2 cog blocks, he can then go stack the jungle for him so that he can have the cleave damage to be able to do a cleave stacked camp later on if he needs to. So one, it puts the Magnus in a very good position to be able to farm at a close tower range and then move into the jungle from there and get even farmed even faster. Or you can use him as a zoning potential versus the Troll, which Troll can use and can need, but Troll's very, very strong in the very beginning. So you can have the kill potential of Clockwork, Troll, Crystal Maiden, have the push out of lane potential of just Clockwork, or you can have the availability of moving into the jungle with CM and getting a lot of farm. It's all very aggressive, it's all very farm potential, it has multiple layers of it. And really, one of the biggest problems with Clockwork support is that he doesn't have enough mana. So Crystal Maiden gives not only the Magnus mana, but it gives the Clockwork mana, as well as helping the Troll going to more of a greedier lineup. And you can get Aquila on him, and I still suggest you get Aquila on him, but you can kind of forego that in some cases, depending on who your offlane is. And having the offlane on a Magnus gives you the availability of picking up a mana boots that you couldn't do on any of the other heroes that are available. Also, what's really, really strong about this lineup is that you have a availability of pulling people in, jumping in, RPing, and then using Clockwork cogs around them, keeping them locked in even further. So you have all of this lockdown potential in the team fight, and then you have Crystal Maiden using your ultimate to kind of go over top of it. With not only that, but you also have a Troll who's able to combo out with the Magnus, getting the Empower, bash lording everyone up, destroying them out, and then Sniper to cap it all off with the Shrapnel and availability of just doing the old classic Sniper Troll lineup. So this is kind of where I'm at, Kimbrell. To kind of just like lay it all out to bear. Sorry, I know I just talked like for 10 minutes straight there. But here you go, man. How would you counter this?
Okay, so first of all, the Juggernaut being 4th ban. If I see a Clockwork Crystal Maiden, I'm probably just going to first phase pick him, I think. Well, either first or second pick, it doesn't really matter. Like, say you have first pick, or say you have second pick, so I would first pick any hero, whatever, and then you would pick the Crystal Maiden Clockwork. I would probably go with the Juggernaut. So the positioning on that, you're not gonna be able to ban like all of them, obviously. Now, if that's your dream, like I'm just clueless and I didn't think of Juggernaut or whatever, right? That's you know, then that's a problem. So say I don't get Juggernaut, I would probably go with the lineup I got was actually really weird. So Undying and Sand King off lane. It would put a lot of pressure either on your Magnus if you decided to aggro as well.
Real quick, you thought SG lineup, I thought SG lineup. We're like countering each other with the same team. Okay, sorry. Go on ahead.
That's all right. So either I would kind of screw your Crystal Maiden. She would have to go to the jungle, and then your Clockwork kind of just dies or just sits around. I know the both heroes are melee, but that's a lot of damage coming out from the Sand King and the Undying. And the Troll is probably going to be pressured as well. So I felt like that was probably a good lane against them. And if you decided to try lane, I wasn't quite sure what carry to pick. I thought Spectre at first, but then I thought if you do try lane, that, you know, kind of screws over that hero. So I thought of 2 ranged that would actually work out decently, and I put Silencer Core. I feel like if you just get even just 1 point in his Q, it does a decent amount to Crystal Maiden. So like if you're trying to fight, you're throwing out all these spells, you're taking quite a bit of damage. And then the other hero I picked is a hero that I haven't seen picked a whole lot recently, if at all, was Witch Doctor. Because if you're going to be an aggro try and you're going to be running at me with your Clockwork, and then with Troll, you can hit me from range. But I mean, in order to get like your bashes that you need or whatever, or if you want them, you're going to go in melee form. And so like the cask is pretty big, I feel like, in that, as long as it's placed correctly. Now, if it's in like, if the 2 ranged heroes are being caught out in the middle of all those creeps, then there's a problem in the first place. So I just feel like that's quite a bit of damage, and you have the lockdown, the annoying cask lockdown in that kind of a lane. It's pretty weak though, like it's pretty squishy. So, but yeah, that's what I had. I really liked the Undying SK. Like you said, it's an SG draft. It's something I've always really enjoyed seeing. And then the mid hero, I put Razor. I feel like with Razor sitting mid, if say you get ganked by a Clockwork, he's going to take damage from the battery assault, but he's not going to take damage from Clockwork because you're just going to invest in your I always forget that skill's name. His leash, his Static Link, right? Mm-hmm. So and then I feel like Static Link against not Undying, Troll Warlord, it's pretty darn good as well. And in team fights, you're just going to build you're going to tank up pretty much, and you're just going to deal with the team fight. So yeah, that's what I have. The Silencer also I felt like was really good against the Magnus, obviously, and the Crystal Maiden. So that's what I have. The only issue I would see overall is, like I said, one, squishy. Two, you don't have really a way to jump on the on the sniper unless you blink with SK and then go from there. So, and that's kind of why I wanted Spectre. I was like, well, then you'll have somebody, because you don't have somebody like PA who all has to do is get an MKB and just she dies, or a Silver Edge or something. So I was thinking Spectre would help, jump on Sniper, but I feel like that hero just dies in that lane if you run the aggro try. So anyway, that's what I got. Might work.
Well, it's interesting. I think, though, one thing that you're forgetting here is that I could cog both of those heroes as melee. So I can just use my potential of cog and push them out, lowering their mana, kind of pushing them away from the troll. You can't spam it as much, but it is pretty annoying. And it would... you aren't sacrificing a lot because you're putting two heroes there and you're destroying my safe lane and the potential of what it is. But I think that there's like some potential that Clockwork has versus those lineups, and that's kind of the cool thing about him. That's why I like him as a support so much, is that you can kind of push people out that generally would be really good in that type of situation. That's why I'm not worried about Axe, actually, is that I can have this push away from him and like make sure that he doesn't get the farm in lane where he normally would get like oodles of farm versus this lineup. That's kind of why you have that like troll going back and forth with his ranged attacks and things. So that's kind of where I was thinking at. And it's actually really funny that you mentioned the Razor, because that was actually something that happened in BTS, or was it Beyond the Summit? It was in the Beyond the Summit Epicenter. It's an Epicenter that just happened recently. The Razor pick was picked up by, I think it was Vega, or it was Vega and the Empire. They're facing each other, but one of them picked up Razor versus Troll Warlord. So it's very forward thinking already. That may be a new trend that's coming up already, Kimbrell, that you cracked the case already. So I don't know, that's a good idea. I didn't necessarily think of Razor in that type of situation, but it is very strong for sure.
Yeah.
Looking at my draft though, I want to kind of talk about the things I kind of warned you ahead of time. I have like 5 billion ideas with this draft. So I'm going to talk about one of them real quick. So if you don't get Crystal Maiden, because everyone loves Crystal Maiden now, right? And let's say they have first pick and they first pick Crystal Maiden. My idea is to get Jakiro. So if you get Jakiro, he has the long-range stun to stop her from using her ultimate. And you have a vacuum-like ability with Magnus. So you can vacuum them into a stun on top of Macropyre, on top of the Clockwork cogs, just the most killer team fight I'd ever seen, and it gives you extra push. So really good ability. The only thing is you kind of have to move some stuff around. Jakiro would definitely have to go Mana Boots, and you'd have to get Magnus on Mana Boots for sure. But besides that, it would be pretty strong, right?
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. I think last week I believe it was last week, I replaced my Crystal Maiden in my draft with a Jakiro. A big thing with Jakiro is the stun with Ice Path. Like, so if you RP, say you get a full 5-man RP, and then you just lay down Ice Path and you stack it correctly, like, that's a decent amount of stun, right? Like, you have pretty solid lockdown, and so, I mean, you just throw out all of your abilities, and you're doing just as much as a Crystal Maiden would do. So, and then Crystal Maiden versus Clockwork in general, I feel like it's just not good. So if I drafted Crystal Maiden and then you were like, oh, well, I have Clockwork Jakiro, like, that hero's not going to provide a ton. She might provide an ult every now and then, but Battery Assault just cancels it immediately unless she's, got a Glimmer Cape or something. So yeah, I like the idea of replacing Crystal Maiden with Jakiro, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I go into that point, and then I think, okay, so the idea is about vacuum, or pulling people close together. So Magnus is not necessarily as hot topic as he was before, and Darkseer is a little bit more, but, you could just put Darkseer in this lineup, and it would be very similar. You could have an Ion Shelled Clockwork, you could have an Ion Shelled Troll smacking people down, making them faster. Just a lot of potential there, you know, just the same idea. And even Axe, you could pick up, if they, for some reason, they're like hating on offlaners and they banned out Magnus and Darkseer, or they pick Magnus and banned out Darkseer or whatever, then Axe is available. And he has the same potential where he locks people in, he goes through BKB, he has like a, it's not a exact vacuum style thing, but you can do a lot of work with that with a Crystal Maiden or Jakiro. So, a lot of potential there, I feel like. It's more of like a draft that says, I want a team fight as much as I can. I'm going to have this initiating offlaner that's like kind of like a counter initiation after Clockwork initiates. Because that's kind of what you want, right? Clockwork hooks in, and then people are like, oh, alright, we're going to kill the Clockwork and converge on him. And then you just like jump in RP or jump in vacuum or jump in call, and then they're just all dead. So that's why I'm excited about this lineup. And really, Troll is something that's been really popular lately. So I was kind of thinking like what I would do if Troll got picked. I think what I would do is I would get these other mid heroes. I think I would go with Shadow Fiend, Ember, Quaff, Invoker, or Sniper. You have all of these different options for mid that you can pick at that level that don't really have too many problems at that point. Like they can save their last mid pick if they want to, and that's kind of why I banned out the Storm Spirit, right? Because like your last ban is gonna be based on what the last person plays, because you know what the general theme of the draft is by the time they've picked 4 heroes, and then your last pick you can go into, if you're going into like you've already picked your mid, you can pick up Terrorblade. Terrorblade would be pretty badass with this draft. With Magnus or Darkseer.
Yeah, the Terrorblade Magnus thing was ridiculous at Kiev. I don't know if you saw, but
oh yeah,
the amount of damage that hero put out was just crazy with Empower.
Yep, game 2, man, game 2, that was insane. Also, like Phantom Assassin, dude, Phantom Assassin with a Deso could be crazy good, or even Sven. You know, just make him the cleave master and just destroy everyone. So yeah, there's a lot of potential, and it's kind of one of those ideas where even if you, let's say they ban out or pick, I mean, I don't see this happening, but let's say they ban out or pick Magnus, Darkseer, and Axe. You still have Clockwork offlane if you really want to do it. So I'm just super excited about this draft.
Yeah, I really like the draft. I feel like here you can replace easy. The hero you can play as easiest is probably Sniper, right? I feel like that hero just kind of just fits in there because he's a mid hero.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can put just about any mid hero, honestly, like a TA or even an OD for you, like, yeah. So, and then the Troll, if they got the Troll, another pick I was going to suggest would be Outworld Devour. I know we saw it in Game 5, and eventually the Troll won, but I mean, OD just kind of craps on Troll, especially in lane. So if they put the Troll mid, like it's just lane's pretty much over, I think. So
now yeah. I didn't know about this idea. I kind of like had this epiphany while talking to you. Do you think Spirit Breaker would be a problem for this draft? I kind of think he would. I don't know, because if you don't have the Jakiro, you have, let's say, Crystal Maiden, Clockwork, Magnus, Troll, and Sniper. Sniper is kind of left alone, one. And you don't have a lot of stun to like stop that charge that you're not committing for like a huge team fight. I kind of feel like it could be a huge problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it could, especially if you just hops on the Sniper every time and your team is way ahead of you and everything like that. So I feel like Sniper is very vulnerable. And then Crystal Maiden, I mean, she's just gonna die if she gets charged. So unless you're 5-manning, yeah, Fafnir even mentioned in the chat, SP crushes the draft, and I think you could potentially work around it. I'm not sure though. I feel like Clockwork, if you have Clockwork and Troll, or Clockwork and someone in a fight, like, you should have enough to lock that hero down. Like, say you have your tri lane, right? And he charges one of those heroes, like Battery Assault with Crystal Maiden Stun and Troll. I feel like that's going to eventually kill him. But the thing you have to worry about is all the other heroes. So he interrupts a lot. Yeah, he pressures a lot. So yeah, Spirit Breaker would kind of suck.
Maybe change out Jug for Spirit Breaker, because honestly, like, Clockwork as a support doesn't really bother me if there's a Jug, because Jug lanes well against Clockwork. But he still has a hook shot that goes through BKB, so he's not that bad as a support.
I mean, I think so, because at that point, like I mentioned earlier, I'm probably going to open like the first phase with Jug. That's just my opinion. So I think by that point, if Jug's not picked by then, I don't think he's going to be picked, in my opinion. So yeah, I think you can take him out of that banned heroes list.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Because once he ults your team, like, he might kill your Crystal Maiden or something, but you have a Clockwork to lock him down. You have a Troll bashing the crap out of him. If he tries to spin away from you, you have a Troll bashing the crap out of him, you know, and you have a Clock Hook, and you have Magnus RP if you need to use that. I mean, you have plenty to lock him down. So I would take him out. I would, and definitely put a Spirit Breaker or Spirit Breaker or something that would definitely would interrupt that kind of a draft. Like maybe say Spirit Breaker's already been banned by them, and maybe like I don't know if a Ricky would be worth it, but something that just interrupts and gets into the back lines without having to deal with the entire team. So.
Yeah, Ricky's a decent idea, but I feel like if I have hook shot and I get an early dust, it wouldn't be quite as big of a deal. And Crystal Maiden can kind of be that just straight ward player where, you know, she just generally has no farm. So you can have Clockwork go for the early boots and kind of go into like a more real true 4 lineup where like some of the problem with a 4, like I've noticed as a 4 player, is that a lot of times when you have these heroes that can't farm their way out of it, like if you have like Coddle or sometimes even like Silencer's not too bad, or these heroes that can kind of take advantage of farming the creeps in the jungle in like the right method, you can kind of make up for the loss of your tri-lane. Clockwork you can't really do that with. So if you can have someone that's like designated, okay, this person gets all the wards, all the support items, then it really frees up that hero in general to be able to do a lot that he couldn't do before. And that's why I feel like it only works if you get like Jakiro or Crystal Maiden with the Clockwork, because then they can be that hero for him and kind of give his pressure in lanes a bigger deal in the later as the game goes on. So yeah. Okay. Do you want to move into items, or do you have any other ideas that you could destroy my draft with?
I don't think so. I feel like no. I was just thinking of different heroes that I've been playing recently or been enjoying watching. I was thinking about Enigma, but I feel like Enigma just kind of no, that's not a good pick.
Yeah, you got Hookshot. You got
you got quite a bit to deal with it. No, I think the heroes that you have banned are pretty good. If you like replace the Jug with Spirit Breaker, I think it's pretty solid. I don't think my draft that I had wins, to be honest. I like it though. I think it puts up somewhat of a challenge, but I might replace. Go ahead.
The Spectre idea is actually pretty good idea. If you can have, even if you put your Undying, like it'd be nice to have the SK Undying in that off lane. But let's say you were to draft that idea and you moved your Undying into your safe lane. Like if I did try to tri-lane versus you, and then you have SK versus Magnus, which is a pretty good lineup for him, honestly.
Right.
And
that's a good point.
Has potential.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it has potential.
Because I mean, you can't tri-laning versus Undying is kind of, you're just kind of asking to sacrifice your Crystal Maiden. Like you're asking to kind of die, especially if he puts points into into his tombstone, like I don't know. I feel like you're gonna have some issues. Crystal Maiden's just gonna die to decay. So and it helps keep that pressure up and keep them away from Spectre, and Spectre's able to farm. And if you try to go aggro against Undying, like I just said, it's kind of suicide. So
right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so I kind of want to talk about the items, because this is kind of where it gets a little confusing on where the draft is going. So, basically with Crystal Maiden, you want her to be, like, give up every ounce of farm possible. And it sucks to be this person sometimes, but you gotta do it on Crystal Maiden. So the idea that I have here is that you go 2 Obs wards, 1 Sentry ward, 1 TP, 1 Clarity, a set of Tangos, and Smoke. You obviously give a few of the set of your Tangos to mid. You give your TP actually to the Clockwork, and then you give one of your Obs to the Clockwork as well. And you do that. You have to do it really fast to be able to make this work. But you're going to basically TP out with your Clockwork, get him to lay out a ward for your offlane, or you could do the same thing with your offlane hero. It doesn't matter either way. Which will be Magnus, Axe, or whatever. And you have them put a ward out generally for mid, because my idea here is to have the pullback for the wave so that you can kind of go from there and kind of let the availability of letting as Fafnir pointed out, the idea of Magnus laning is kind of a hard thing to do. And if you can pull that lane back, like I was saying before, then with your cogs, you can give the lane a very good potential. So if you can pull that lane back and then put up a ward so that your mid doesn't have problems, then it kind of helps synchronize the draft in a way that helps more so than helping out the offlane with sight. So you generally want to put the ward a little bit further out, kind of let them make sure it guarantees that they don't get the ward deny. Then you go into Clockwork. You want to have with Crystal Maiden, you want to go into Tranquil's wards, Up Courier, Force Staff Glimmer, constant Crystal Maiden things, just general ideas. Then you want to go into Clockwork. You want to go into the PMS and Tangos build. I really like PMS on him as a way to support with him, because it gives him the extra tankiness, lets him push people out of lane, and Tangos in general kind of help that out. So if you're doing the bubble block, you don't necessarily have to go this build, but it's one that I still suggest that you do if you're going support. Then you want to go into Tranquils and Urn, because you actually have the mana regen with Urn and Crystal Maiden to be able to use your abilities constantly. It's really, really strong. And Tranquil Boots with the added movement speed really helps out, because it's okay, they can auto attack you and it slows down your movement speed, but that's generally not going to happen. You're going to get to where you're wanting to go and have a lot of health regen, a lot of mana regen, and be able to get in, get the kill, get an Urn charge, get more damage for the next kill when you get your hook shot off cooldown fast. So it's a lot of potential that you have there. Then you go into Blade Mail, because the Urn makes you a little bit more tanky, lets you get more damage, so you're just able to get that extra pressure. So Blade Mail and Force Staff are the ways that you're wanting to go. If your idea kind of falls at that point, like I was talking about, where they ban out or pick the Axe, Darkseer, and Magnus, then you can go into the offlane. And you can do what I was saying before with the whole Stout Shield, TP, Obsword move, and you can generally just pull the lane back constantly for yourself. And if they sack the hard camp, then you can actually just rocket flare it and then pull the creep camp to you so that you can pull your stack and really gain control of your lane with an off-lane Clockwork. And if you're going off-lane Clockwork, you have to go phase and you have to go Blade Mail. And if you're going for that off-lane Clockwork, then you're going to want the other support to be someone who carries a mana boots in general. So that's kind of the idea of the whole draft. And then from here you kind of go the general offlane, mid, and carry items. boots. If you're going for Darkseer, you go for the mech, you go for the mana boots, and generally the greaves. If you're going the availability of going into a Magnus, you get the blink, the shadow blade, the force staff, because there's certain each hero offers something to the pool. If you're going for Magnus or Darkseer, you have to go for the mana boots. And if you can get if you want to go the axe, it's something I don't suggest on average, because you're not going to have enough mana for your team. Because then no one's going to have mana boots on your whole team. Unless you go something weird, like maybe Shadow Shaman mid. You know, me and Kimbrell are big fans of that, so you can always do that. And mid and carry kind of the same way. You kind of want that Wraith ban into Aquila build, and kind of go from the hero dependent builds for both mid and carry. So can't really suggest a certain pathway because there's so many heroes that you can possibly do. But yeah, Kimbrell, do you see anything from these ideas or possible items that you feel like have to be available in this lineup?
I don't think so. Did you? I might have just not heard you. Did you mention Clockwork starting items?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just coming out of base items.
And then, if you're going in the off lane, I can give you the run on that. The stout, you could go stout, shield, TP, tangos, clarity, salve, obzord, and it's really weird because you kind of are supporting at that point still as an offlaner.
Right. So the one thing I was going to say is as a support or either position, the few times I've played Clockwork recently, I've gone with the clarity. So if I get my PMS, I'll usually go with the slippers, and then I'll get clarity tangos, and then I'll do what you mentioned earlier is the block. And so I'll block the creeps as soon as they first gather on the stairs with my cogs, and then I'll clarity. And instead of using the shrine, you walk forward, and by the time your cogs are up again, you're pretty much full mana, cogs again, and the creeps are at the river at that point, and then you're able to, especially if you block in between cogs and you walk with the creeps, they're right there at the river, so you have you have no issue with your clarity finishing out. And so by the time you'd use those 2 cogs, you'll have full mana. It's something I've noticed, and it's actually really cool. It's one of my favorite things to do as Clockwork is just that start out like the other heroes like, what the hell? Why is the lane pushing so far up? You know, so.
The thing is, you can use that. You don't necessarily. You could be a little bit behind on mana because he doesn't have a lot of really expensive stuff. Then you could use that clarity later. That's why I always am a fan of the bubble block in the beginning.
Yeah, that's just one of my, just kind of going off on a tangent a little bit. That's one of my favorite things as an off lane when I pick those kind of heroes that can disrupt the equilibrium and bring it forward. So like you can do a Clockwork or Earthshaker or like Nature's Prophet where you run your treants behind. You catch their creep lane, their creep wave, and you pull it with your treants. And so anyway, you end up having a double creep wave or whatever. And it's really cool. Anyway. I don't think there's any items that you missed that you just absolutely need. Magnus, I've gone as an off lane, I've gone arcanes on that hero a lot. Because I feel like you will need that, like you mentioned, the mana or whatever, but then eventually like getting Greaves is always really good. So I do like what you talk about with Axe. That's one thing that kind of sucks about Axe is you don't want to really go into Greaves or Arcanes on Axe. You kind of want to tank up and get those Tranquils and all that. So Axe kind of wouldn't work, I don't think, because like you mentioned, you need that mana sustain, and Crystal Maiden's great, but she doesn't provide that burst of mana that you might need in a team fight. So Darkseer and Magnus have been really good. They've been really hot, especially closing out Kiev. Like the Darkseer combos were godly watching those. So
it's mostly because of VP too, right? Because like VP's general aggressiveness with their team fights, and it's just such a play style of Darkseer.
Yeah, that hero is a lot of fun. I've been trying to get back into offlane. I've been playing it a lot recently. I've been playing like whatever hero I pick or random. So like Necro or Razor or Darkseer or Magnus or something. So it's been a lot of fun. And Darkseer is one of my favorites out of all those. So.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually, it's kind of funny, I've actually kind of started to get into it as well on the idea of going into the what is it? Going into offlane in general. I really enjoy the potential of what it can be, and I used to do it whenever I was on a team with Toffees. Actually, I was the offlaner and the captain, so it's kind of like a good moving point for me to go into that idea. And I've been using Clockwork as my offlaner because generally I'm really good at initiating, but I'm not good at like these micromanaging heroes like Beastmaster or anything like that.
Oh, man.
So
Beast is a good one.
oh, don't get me wrong, Beast is fantastic. I wish I was better with that hero than I actually am.
Yeah, I played a game with him recently as well, and just being able to. I thought we were going to lose, to be honest. We were up against a Timber, and we didn't have a whole lot of team fight, and we pressured them early enough that we took down a Rax, and then eventually I just kind of ratted, and I took the last Rax while they were pushing mid, and it was, I don't know, it was just kind of cool. I really like that hero, but I want to just kind of push the offlane. Like I want to see what heroes I can run in the offlane and get away with. Like I mentioned, I ran a Razor. I feel like strong ranged heroes like a Razor or a Necro does decently in the offlane. I was just then again I was up against a Slark and I think Crystal Maiden, so as the Razor it was kind of easy. It just leached the damage from the Slark or the Crystal Maiden, and you just run them down and kill them. So anyway. Sorry, just kind of digressed there.
No, perfect. I mean, that's what the show is for. But the idea, I kind of agree. I definitely agree with you. And it's kind of a pub mentality, right? Because like if you're going versus a team, it's like, okay, we see Razor, and we know what he's capable of. All right, let's punish this, right? And you can do a lot to punish that in the lane, whereas with a safer hero like Magnus or Clock or something like that, you can kind of manipulate the lane and kind of go from there. And not that I think that you're wrong, because I'm the exact same way, man. Like I want to push the envelope on like putting Razor out there or Necrophos or whatever. But I feel like it's kind of like when it's in pub, sometimes pub mentality just works because there's not as much communication. There's not as much feel to the actual game as you would
right.
find.
I like when they pick like a Bloodseeker and then they got a melee core and a weak support. You're just like, yeah, I could just pick any hero in the offlane and get away with it because they're not going to do anything. Like there's nothing they can do to me. So, but yeah, like you mentioned, offlane's been one of my favorites here recently. It's been my favorite for a while, but here recently, it's just like everyone wants to mid. Everyone wants to carry. Well, I wouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people want to carry. And then there's hardly ever anyone that wants to support. And I just kind of hate in my pubs, and maybe it's just this is probably why I'm bad, but I feel like I have to be in a core position because when I support in pubs, I finish a game. Just recently, I'm about to like get angry thinking about it. I finished a game and my Juggernaut had an Aquila, Treads, and a Maelstrom. That's it. 40-minute game. That's all he had. And it's just when those things happen, I'm like, God. So I want a core, but then when I play a carry, then I got a jungler and then some random like a Skywrath or a Vino or something in my lane, and it's like all right. And then those heroes are fine, but as just a dual lane when you don't have a stun or something, they're just kind of, I don't know, like especially if they try lane against you. Anyway, so yeah, offlane's been one of my favorite. I feel like you can do a lot, you can manipulate a lot throughout the game. So
most definitely. Okay, so at this point, we're going to kind of switch over to the Kiev major ideas here. We're going to kind of do a breakdown of it. Kimbrell, you can jump in just at any time. I'm going to be kind of going on a rant here, so if you feel like there's just like too much and I'm talking too much about random stuff, go ahead and jump in. Okay. All right. So we're going to be doing we're going to be looking at the draft of the Game 5. I think that this is the biggest turning point, and it's actually one of the best drafts to look at when you're looking at this game, at this tournament in general. It has a lot of back and forth, and you can see a lot of what the teams are preparing for each other and the stylized version that they go into. So I switched it over right now to a video of us. We still have us here. We still see our beautiful faces, of course. But it's actually going to be a game that someone has hosted on the Game 5, and we get to kind of see a run through of what's going on here. So first off, I want to talk about is that OG starts off the match with banning out the Wisp. They ban out the Wisp because not only is it a strong potential of relocate and having that really aggressive type playstyle, but also Overcharge is a very good ability to help dive and potentially get a very strong ability that has a good support. And that's kind of the thing that Solo does, is Solo has a very strong potential of getting these heroes that potentially are very protective, and he's like the only one on the team that is like kind of he's aggressive, but he's not like super aggressive like the rest of the team. So like Wisp has that potential to really help out those other heroes. And then the Virtus Pro answer with an obvious hero that No-Tail is very strong with, the Naga. They ban out that Naga to generally potential take out these illusion heroes that he's very strong with. He's not the strongest at farming, but just the potential of what he can do with the illusion heroes is very strong. So then OG answer with the Darkseer pick. Darkseer, like I was kind of describing before, has a very strong potential of if you have a very aggressive lineup, that he can supercharge the person to get in there with the movement speed buff. And then he also has the Ion Shell to make them stronger. So when they collapse on that guy that's getting very divey, he can then jump in, vacuum, and ult, and just turn the tide of the fight. So it's really, really smart what OG do here. They don't ban out the aggressive heroes. They ban out the heroes that work really well with the aggressive heroes, because you can't ban out all of the aggressive heroes. And Virtus Pro answer once again with a terrorblade ban. Another illusion hero, another hero that's very, very strong under No-Tail. And it was proven into earlier games into that 5-game series that he is just very strong with the hero in general and cannot be matched. So they're banning at this 5th stage, they're banning at what the team generally runs. And they know what their style of play is. They're just going to kind of go around it and hopefully cancel out what they can do based on what they play. And OG answer with a Treant Protector. Treant Protector is a very strong pick in the beginning because not only does he offer a variety of play, he can go into the off lane and go into a duo off lane, or he can go into the safe lane and an easy tri lane and still be very, very useful. Plus he has multiple different ways he can build into going more into his stun build, or he can go more into his Treant armor, or I mean, generally you don't see the leash seed going up too much, but he has a lot of potential on what he can do. Warlock is a very good answer to this whole problem because he is not only an aggressive hero, and he allows the availability of other people being aggressive with his heal. It's one of the best heals in the game right now. He also offers a lot to team fight and kind of cancels out what Treant Protector is about. If you have a solo person pushing in the off lane or pushing in the safe lane, you can kind of heal up the tower and guarantee it to not really be pushed in as much. Warlock kind of takes advantage of trying to push people together, get people to group up, and fight as one. He also has a ticking ability with his heal if he puts it on someone, and it kind of cancels out what tree armor does and what everyone loves about tree in general. Legion Commander is then the next pick, is another very aggressive pick, kind of cancels out a lot of what OG can do. He generally is an incredible laner, and Treant is kind of that safety pick at some point. So if you're picking a bunch of safety, it's very strong to have that Legion Commander picked up so that you can really aggress on them and get the farm, because he's kind of a farm heavy offlane, whereas other heroes aren't as farm heavy. So they're taking advantage of the late game progress of what Legion Commander can do. an OG answer with a Dazzle pick. And it's a very, very strong pick because Fly is available to... I mean, Fly is like the best Dazzle player in the world. He is very well known for it. He does incredible graves. He's just incredible with the hero in general. And it's a very, very strong versus the Legion Commander potential. And it's also a very good pick because you generally only counter the Dazzle pick by picking up an axe, being able to ult through his availability of grave, and you can kind of take that out. But if you have a Legion Commander, you're going to want her to be the offlane. So the potential of picking up the axe is not really there, and it still saves anyone that the Legion Commander duels. So then Virtus Pro and OG kind of answer with both of these bans that come out are just very strong with the player style that they play. Ursa's just incredible on Virtus Pro. They're very aggressive people, and they don't want that hero to be available to them. It's just, whenever they had that hero, I almost guarantee, I think it was like an 80% win rate when they had that hero. It was stupid. And then Enigma had the availability of, for S4. S4 is just crazy good with that hero. Even when he got countered, quote unquote countered with a Rubik or a Silencer, he was still able to win his lane, give a lot of potential to what the hero was able to do, and just really push the envelope of what he could do with an Enigma. And he saved his ult to like the crucial moments. I mean, to really credit S4 on this, they were afraid of him with a Warlock. Warlock is one of the best counters to have versus an Enigma, and they still felt uncomfortable going versus him. So, obvious respect from the third bans on both teams. Then they ban out the Slark. And they ban out the Slark. I feel like it's kind of a risky move because Slark actually works really well versus Treant by having his Q kind of melt through the armor and give them a lot of potential. Also, Legion Commander works really well versus Slark, so I felt like this was a little bit of a underestimation of like what they could do. They probably just didn't feel comfortable running it at their final last game, and to be honest, it's kind of helps out what they're going for in the future when Lil picks up his Enchantress, and having Slark versus her is very, very strong. You can purge off the slow that she has, and you can purge off the purge just so much magic damage to her in general. So they're kind of preparing for that. OG answer for a Shadow Fiend because they know that they have these two very safe protective supports. So if they have these two safe protective supports, they can't generally gank a SF. And SF only loses a lane whenever he can't have that gank potential. So if you don't have the gank potential versus the SF, you just ban him out, make sure that he doesn't exist, because if he doesn't get ganked, then he's either going to come out even, or he's going to win the lane up, win the matchup, like every time, unless the SF is a bad player, and that's not going to happen when it's the finals of a tournament. They then pick up the Enchantress, which is very, very smart because they have this potential of either going into this aggressive lineup that Virtus Pro love, or they can go into a style of farming with Enchantress. And the Enchantress has you can go into a easy Midas, kind of go from there, and kind of take advantage of these supports that generally farm out. They then answer with the Centaur War Chief. I don't think that's the best answer really to their lineup, but it's something that S4 is very comfortable with, and really Treant and Dazzle can keep a Centaur alive for forever while he's like doing damage by them just attacking them. So it's a different style, and it's going to keep their everyone alive in general versus their Virtus Pro lineup. They're just making sure that they live through it. It's actually kind of the point of the draft that I feel like is the weakest, where they pick up the Centaur, because they don't really offer a lot in the lineup at this point. Virtus Pro answer with an Alchemist, and they answer with an Alchemist because they need that ticking damage versus the Treant, but they also know, once again, they can't really take advantage. They're going super defensive by going into Centaur War Chief, Dazzle, and Treant Protector. So what's the best way to do that? Is get the best hero that can farm in the game. So they pick up that Alchemist to be able to do that, an OG answer with a Troll Warlord. And Troll Warlord obviously goes through Enchantress by the Untouchable, can kind of 1v1 the Legion Commander, so offers a lot there. And, I mean, he's not the best versus Alchemist, but he offers a lot that he can go. He can go into the safe lane or into the mid. So they pick that up, obviously, for that. Virtus Pro go into banning into the Storm Spirit because Ana's just a very good Storm Spirit, and they don't want to deal with that potential of the magic damage that Enchantress can go through at this point. I think it's more of a respect ban than it is anything else. They ban out the Bloodseeker because they know that they're going to want to pick up Timbersaw. And Timbersaw's availability is that he destroys half of their lineup. Or, well, more than half. He destroys Legion Commander, he destroys Alchemist because they're both strength heroes. The Whirling Death just nullifies the hero in general. And they know that they're going to be going up at least one of those two if they pick up the Timbersaw. Enchantress is also very super weak to magic damage. Timbersaw takes care of that and doesn't generally have a problem after that point. They then, at this point, this is where it's really genius. I've been saying back and forth that these teams have been going and they've been countering each other, kind of baiting certain things out. Really, with Centaur, the Centaur pick, I felt like they were trying to bait out the Lifestealer so that they would have the Troll Warlord to be able to counter that Lifestealer. And there's a lot of play like that in this draft, and it's very interesting to kind of see it play out at this point. But when that Timbersaw is picked up last, they're like, okay, we know what their draft is capable of. We're going to answer with an Outworld Devourer, and it's the most genius draft decision I've ever seen. Outworld Devourer counters literally every single person on their team. Timbersaw has this magic, not magic resistance, but he has this armor resistance versus anyone that has the potential of right-clicking them. So how to get around that? You use this guy that hits like a truck on his magic damage. So he gets around Timbersaw there. Also, Timbersaw's intelligence gain is okay, but he's kind of crappy in the beginning, and he's not getting intelligence item, he's getting mana boosting items. He's getting the Arcaner, and he's getting the Bloodstone. He's getting these availability items that increase his mana pool and not necessarily his intelligence. So you're going to be taking a lot more from him, and your ult's going to do that much more damage. Troll is one of the dumbest heroes in Dota. He's like actually dumb. His intelligence is very, very low. So you can use his ultimate to blast him down once again. His ultimate is super useful at this point. Centaur Warchief. If you take out if you hit him a couple times with his right click, not only does he have to build into the magic resistance, he has to go into he steals his intelligence, and he can't use his ultimate and his stun at the same time. Very, very crucial for this lineup. Also, he has the availability of putting someone into the Abyss, pretty much, and with Dazzle Graves someone, he can put them into the Abyss for like 4 seconds and say, okay, alright, you're saved, but you're going to be sitting there for 4 seconds, and my team's going to destroy you when you come out. And then we got Treant Protector. Treant Protector's armor is very strong, and it's very useful, but you can also use your ability to go into the Abyss on yourself whenever Treant ults, and you can use the ability of using your just auto attacks actually still steal intelligence versus the person. It's like kind of having a Slark versus Treant. It's like, yeah, you're not doing a bunch of damage with your steal, but you're still getting your character to be more powerful over time. So he counters everyone on the draft, and then look at their lineup. Legion Commander. Legion Commander can go in with no health now, ult someone. Outworld Devourer can put her into the stasis that he has, just right-click down, be a beat stick, and just beat the person down into giving Legion Commander damage. He has so much potential to save these guys that can heal, have all these healing potentials. It's just, this hero is insane. It is one of the best picks I've ever seen in Dota, period, in this lineup. And I can't even like stress any more about it, because we watched this game. They were 3-18 like 40 minutes in, and there's a reason why that happened. It's just because that Outworld Devourer pick. He was doing so much work for them, and the only reason why they lost is because when a team fight happened with Treant Protector, where he used his ult at the perfect time, Troll Warlord was able to walk up on top of them, beat them down with a BKB, and able to turn the fight from there. The only people that would have bought BKB was Troll Warlord. Timbersaw doesn't want a BKB, Centaur doesn't want a BKB, Dazzle doesn't want a BKB, or Treant. Like, incredible pick. I can't even, like... I'm freaking out about this, but it is just so good, and I believe that this is, like, what the end of game should be. Game 5s. Like, this is... VP brought it, and it's a little sad that they lost, but I also voted for OG to win at the end, so, you know, I'm happy as well. Kimbrell, I know I just, like, talked for, like, 10 minutes straight there. You have anything to add about this draft?
I have plenty. I'm going to try to cut it short, or cut it down a little bit, that way we're not way over time. Itemization. Oh, man. Okay, so not only do I realize, I feel like the fight you talked about with Treant, that definitely won a huge 10K, yeah, 10K gold advantage, like that won that completely over. What nobody really noticed was right before that fight, Centaur landed a 3-man stomp and allowed Treant to also ult and then Troll to just keep on bashing in that fight. It was great. And that's OG for you, right? That's their, I guess you can call them veterans now, right? I mean, they've won 4 now. They're that team that, I said this on Twitter, I feel like eventually they're going to become that team that everybody hates, like, because they just win, like the New England Patriots or something like that. It's just because they win. So anyway, one big thing I really noticed is OG finished the game with 2 Solar Crests. Like, that item was huge at near the end of Kiev. Also, with it on Dazzle and Treant, it helped whoever was being dueled at the time, and it also let Troll just frontline and just do what he needed to do. Another big pickup that I saw was Notel picked up a Ghost Scepter, and on Timber, it's like, it's an item that I'll pick up only for heroes like OD. So it was a really good pickup, and then he finished it. He got a Yule's, which is, we've talked about before. It's a great item for catch. And then he got Shiva's Ags, and then he got the he finished the E-Blade, and then he got Dagon. So he was able to completely destroy the Alk. Not only does Timber just destroy the Alk in general with the Ghost Scepter, or with the E-Blade, then Dagon, and then the dual chakrams, and there's so much to do, so much damage there. One thing on VP side that I noticed, the only hero that had MKB for about 10 minutes was Alk. And they needed an MKB, and one, not only did Anna, however you say his name, have a butterfly at 35 minutes. He's also got the whirling axes mischance as well. And I felt like OD should just go for an MKB. That's just my opinion. And he got the BKB, which is great, but I believe after the Shivas, like, the armor's great, but I really just think that's the point where you get your MKB. You have Alk, the battle axe, or the battle Alk was great, and I think the big reason why they went with that is because of the Timbersaw. It's like, okay, if you guys are going to run this, we can't really run the whole Radiance Timbersaw. Also, it fits into VP's aggressive play style, and it worked really, really great. It was Ramses did really well until the late game. There were some decisions which I can't say. As an observer, it's easy to say, oh, he should have done this instead of that. But as a player, there's no way I would have been able to make those decisions. I would have never made it past the 20 minutes. I would have probably just given up, like, oh, I'm losing to. Anyway, so just one big thing that I noticed was the Pasha on Legion Commander. He finished the game with 46 extra damage from duel. He also finished the game with 4 items, major items: Phase Boots, Blink, BKB, Ghost Scepter. The Ghost Scepter pick is like, it's really, I felt like it was pretty ingenious. It's like, I'm going to Ghost Scepter, and then I'm going to duel this Troll so he cannot bash down our team. That was great. However, the big issue was they had no one punching the Troll. Like, Alk got caught out from the timber, and so he wasn't able to go in and punch the troll. And that so for 10 minutes until Enchantress got her MKB, there wasn't a whole lot that they could do in those fights. So Legion was just dueling and just kind of holding the troll there, and there's not a whole lot they could have done. And that's just kind of where the fights kept on turning around. And there was one fight in Roche where Legion dueled Anna on troll, and it's like, you guys aren't doing anything with it. Like, Ramses is running away, and he kind of has to, but he's running away from the fight with the only MKB that you guys have, and all you're doing is just kind of putting off your death. Like, that's it. You're gonna die. So yeah, I just felt like that was pretty huge with the Ghost Scepter pick, and then them not picking it, like actually doing anything with it. I felt like if they're gonna do that, maybe Legion, instead of OD getting a Blade Mail late in the game, maybe Legion should have gotten a Blade Mail and went Blade Mail MKB and just been a huge damage dealer. I'm not sure, but anyway, that was just my thoughts on it. I really liked the itemization. I feel like that was a big turning point in the game. Not only the fight at the Ancients.
Oh, wait. Sorry, man. You just cut out. Sorry. Repeat what you said.
I was just saying I felt like the itemization completely turned the game. Besides the team fight with the Treant ult, like the itemization overall, I just feel like there were misplays from VP's part, and there's some huge plays from OG. And Notel's build is actually, like, I love it as Timbersaw, because it's just so much burst damage. Like the Yules, Shivas, Ags, E-Blade, Dagon 5. Like, you're just melting whoever you go on, whether it's the Enchantress or the Alk or whoever. So anyway, that's my input. I really liked the game. It was one of my favorites, besides the SG games. But yeah.
Yeah, I think SG kind of made fanboys of us both, for sure. They were great games. So we're going to get to this point. If you have anything else to say about my draft or about the game in general, you can go on ahead. I think you've said pretty much all, but...
No, I'm good to go.
Okay, cool. So we're going to rate our beers today. Obviously, Kimbrell got Merp. So the obvious idea is that he cannot rate. I am going to rate my beer. I actually give it a 5 out of 5. I don't know if you guys have been able to tell, but I'm on my third one right now, and it is delicious. It is light.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's light, and it's a stout, so it's still got that full body like feel. Yeah, dude. If you're ever in Indiana, get busted Knuckle. It's fantastic.
Sounds good, man. I mean, I think that's our first 5 out of 5 too. Must be really good. Oh.
Yeah. I think, did I give the Strovov? That one might have been a 5 out of 5.
It might have been a 5. Yeah, I can't remember. You're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be. I'm a generous guy, so it could be 5 out of 5 for both of them. But okay, let's close out the show. Every good thing has to end. So sorry, guys. If you guys want to help us out, you could subscribe or like any of our videos. You can go to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Toffees_Dota2. You can go to our YouTube channel, and it is at 5 Midas Gaming. If you want to, you can go to our podcast instead of our VODs. You can go to our Stitcher, iTunes, or SoundCloud. You can also give to our Patreon if you're feeling extra generous at www.patreon.com/Toffees. If you are interested in questions for me, Toffees, or Kimbrell, you can always follow Toffees at ToffeesTV. You can follow me at my Twitter at FlubbDota. And you can always follow Kimbrell at skimbrell_. If you have any ideas any ideas in general about our casts, or if you feel like if you want to have me cast a game that you're playing, you can always send me messages at crazyflubb@gmail.com. Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to share a couple brews with me today. I had a few myself, so I'm feeling pretty good right now. And I'm glad that you guys were able to share this time with us today. So I will catch you guys next week or Sunday on the Flubb Date. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.